This is the breakdown seen exclusively at atv.ca and A Sports Extra. This is Merrick. I am Norm. Thanks for joining us today. Merrick, the Mustangs in football play 3-1 after a 30-15 win at Windsor. Here's the thing. Of the 55 or 56 points the Stangs have given up this season, half have been in the second half. Doesn't seem too startling, but I'm wondering if the Mustangs lack that killer instinct, that instinct to step on their opponent's throat, perhaps might hurt them down the stretch.
Well, I don't think you're really going to be able to gauge that until you're getting down the stretch. I mean, especially now that we're getting into these games, which are viewed, especially by Western, as the, they don't take anyone lightly, but these are, I mean, for all intents and purposes, warm-up games for playoffs. So.
The thing is Western that much better than their opponents? They were up 27-1 on the Lancers over the weekend, and then the Lancers outscored them down the stretch. You've got to figure that this team isn't as dominant as it once was, and even though they are 3-1, they're going to have to work for every win they get. That's
assuming they keep their starters in the second half. I can imagine that they're running in some backups through that time. So, I mean, that could account for some of the catch-up as well.
Looking at the OUA football standings right now, Ottawa on top at 4-0, Western there at 3-1 in second place, and Guelph 3-0. We've got a big battle coming up this weekend in the Royal City. Western, Guelph. Western's going to be lucky to get out of the Royal City with another W.
Yeah, Guelph has been one of those teams that has been very surprising this year, but this might be the weekend that we see the return of Nathan Riva. And
that's true.
And we may see some interesting, let's see what happens.
How do you approach the Nathan Riva situation? Do you overwork him? Do you limit his receptions? Jeremy Hipperson is clearly capable of carrying the ball and scoring touchdowns. If you were the coach, how would you work Nathan Riva back into the lineup?
You work him hard in practice.
Okay.
And if he's 100% come game time, you put him in. But anything less than that, with a talent like Nathan Riva, you hold on to him.
I look at the Stangs right now, and they're good, not great. I'm not so sure we'll be able to fully dictate, or they'll be able to fully comprehend what they are until we get closer into the playoffs and down to the final few teams of the season. But I'm not really sure where the Mustangs are going to fit in when we get down to the final 2-3 teams. Do you think that they go all the way and maybe play Ottawa for a Yates Cup, or is it still too early?
They lost by a point to Ottawa in the nation's capital. I mean, they have to be considered 1-2 by a hair. And anything else, I mean, the supposed number 2 was Laurier, right?
There is no dominant beast, even though Ottawa is 4-0 right now. There is no dominant beast, and I still believe it's anybody's ball game. Let's not count out Queens yet. Let's not count out Mac, and dare I say it, let's not count out the Laurier Golden Hawks, who I thought were dead and gone after that debacle to open up the season. London High School football is kicked off with the United Way games. Can we even predict the champion at this point?
In London football? No, you can't, because it can come from any of those A division teams, and this year, potentially, like 2 years ago, you could see a B division champion. So.
I think you have to start with the Mother Teresa Spartans, the team on top right now, a perennial contender. I just don't see anyone else unseating them in terms of the preseason rankings as we move on throughout the fall. Another story might take shape, but I think it's the Spartans as the favorites going into the season.
Absolutely, but one injury, if one team lets down for a single week, they could lose and be gone. So, I mean, every year there's any of the top 4 teams could have gone on to win the Western Bowl.
Yeah, you've got to have that winning pedigree, and you've got to have that expectation of success. And when you're the champion, you expect to go into the next year repeating. But it's a very difficult thing to do in London High School football. We've got MTS, Lucas, STA, CCH, and South. Brent Lale put together a nice little story about how the Lions have a different kind of offense. They're going to attack you from different points of the field, and it's sort of an unconventional style of play. I think the Lions might surprise a few people this season.
Well, talk is nice. Yeah. You got to see it on the field,
Lucas returning a lot of fifth-year players. Do they have what it takes? We've seen this team run the table in the regular season, then fizzle out in the playoffs.
Well, I've been around to a few of the practices over the last couple of weeks, and let me tell you this: Lucas is huge.
Yeah.
They are massive. And same with Mother Teresa's got some big guys, but Lucas is big.
And
So,
SDA led by Brett Weir, perhaps the best player in London high school football, but one player doesn't a team make. And you have to wonder if he's going to be a huge target out there. If he gets hurt, I'm not sure the Flames do much.
No, that's true, and exactly what it goes down to. Football is one of those games where it is a team sport, but if one of those cogs gets injured, the whole wheel falls off.
Yeah, we'll stop short of predicting any sort of champion at this point, but I think it is Mother Teresa's to lose. Before we go, NHL preseason starts this week. Dion Phaneuf, captain of the Leafs, and we all know that Brian Giunta will be named captain of Les Habitants very shortly. Which of these individuals makes a positive impact on his club quicker?
Positive, Dion Phaneuf, because everyone has accepted him already.
Okay.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is acceptance. The fans are excited to see what Phaneuf does. He came out, he said, we're going to be a playoff team, that's the goal, that's what we're going to do, and everyone's buying into that right now. Obviously when the season starts, it's a different story, but the excitement is there for Phaneuf. Giunta has a little tougher time.
What are the expectations, though? The Leafs finished 29th place last year. Anything close to a playoff spot, and Dion Phaneuf will be looked upon as some kind of hero. Brian Giunta, he is trying to serve a very fickle and demanding fan base. They all want a Stanley Cup. I'm not so sure the Montreal Canadiens have the horses to do that. So a lot is going to be riding on Brian Giunta and the Montreal Canadiens. I think he has the right demeanor to be in that marketplace. We shall see what happens. Congratulations to London cyclist Jeff Schiller. He's 28 years of age, and he just took out Ryder Hesjedal at the Queen's Park Grand Prix in Toronto. Just another fantastic success story in terms of sports right here in London. Thank you very much, Merrick. We're still on the lookout for Brent Lail. We'll catch you next week on The Breakdown.